Okay, hi guys. So we're gonna start going through Group B's literature review. We'll just go paragraph by paragraph. If you have a comment you want to make, go ahead and use the hand raise icon, but feel free to also highlight it on your own and we can talk about it to make sure everyone agrees. So I'll just start by going through the first paragraph. They say, a high probability instructional sequence is a frequently used intervention when the goal is increasing the probability that a typically avoided task will be completed without problem behavior. Using the principles of behavioral momentum, a high probability instructional sequence begins by presenting a series of 2-5 tasks that have a history of being completed. As the learner completes these initial tasks, the learner is finally presented with the task that is typically avoided. The idea is that by beginning with the initial tasks paired with the high rate of positive reinforcement after completing each task, the learner will independently complete that task that is typically avoided without displaying problem behaviors. I guess I'll comment quick just since I'm already talking and then call on people. The first thing is there needs to be a citation after the first sentence right here. And then I also feel like typically avoided, that phrase might not make sense, maybe putting a versive. Let's see who went first. Danielle, did you have your hand raised first? If not,
I did, but you said what I was gonna say.
oh shoot, sorry. Okay, Crystal, go ahead.
I was gonna say, as far as like what they need for the introductory paragraph, because looking at the PowerPoint, it says that they need to describe the antecedent intervention in just one paragraph. They did that well so far, so I just think, like, the minor grammar changes that you guys are mentioning, you guys can comment with that.
Okay, awesome. Allie, what about you?
I was also gonna suggest removal of the avoided terminology.
Okay. So how about I'll put it, or Danielle, do you want to add the comment in about the citation, and then Allie, you can add the other one?
Yeah, I can do that.
And then once you guys do that, we can keep going. Okay, my screen is just being weird. Crystal, go ahead. Sorry.
Again, with their paragraph, like as far as the PowerPoint goes,
I think you're muted, Crystal.
I was gonna say, as far as the contents of what the paragraph needed, like stating the advantages and disadvantages of the antecedent intervention, they stated that. However, I just wanted to comment on the terminology used. I don't know what that word means, but I think we should either change that or remove it because it's a little confusing for me. I think it was like,
sorry, I might have missed one.
Scroll down a little bit. I think
Okay.
it's when they start to begin to talk about the disadvantage. Yeah, despite the aforementioned advantages.
Yeah, that's a strange word to choose. I feel, yeah. I think we can change that too.
And then also, since I'm screen recording, I don't want to go into the doc and make the comment because then it's going to mess up the screen. So can you add that for me, please?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you want me to do you have a word in mind, or do you want me to just put change this word?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Let's see. Can I sign it with your name? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. To be better understood, or like more common language.
Yeah.
Do you think? Okay. Or maybe a better transitional word.
Yeah. Or they could just start at saying disadvantages to using a high probability.
Okay.
Are like just rephrasing those first two sentences, the transition.
I agree. Okay. Awesome. Okay, did you want me to read that paragraph since we kind of went through it? No? Okay. All right, so we'll move down to internal validity. When examining the research related to HPAIS, it is critical that we first start with examining the internal validity. Internal validity refers to the extent that the intervention was the direct cause of any behavior changes when examining a research study. Let's just go by sentence, because right there I think we need a citation. Do you guys agree with that? Okay, and then...
Yeah, can we backtrack a little bit?
Sure.
Up to the second paragraph, I highlighted one sentence that I thought was a little funky. I don't know if you guys agree.
Sorry, I missed that.
Okay. I just added in. I don't know exactly what they're trying to say, but it seems kind of all over the place. So I said maybe if they reworded it without as many commas, it might be more cohesive.
Okay, let's see. There are several advantages to using a high probability instructional sequence to increase the likelihood of task completion. By using HPAS, problem behavior can be reduced as a highly preferred reinforcer paired with positive praise is typically presented immediately upon completion of the high probability tasks. I agree. I think it's a grammar issue with the commas. I also feel like it's possible that specific chunk of text might need to be paraphrased. It looks like it might be right from the book is my guess. Did anyone have, or Danielle, sorry, go ahead.
I had something about the first paragraph too. If you scroll up, they say like -5. Yeah, it's like the second sentence. When I read that initially, I read it 2 through 5 tasks that have a history. And I wonder if there's another way to rephrase that so it's not so confusing for the reader.
Okay. During the principles of behavioral momentum, a high probability instructional sequence presenting a series of 2-5 tasks. Yeah, I think that's super confusing reading that. Did you want to just add a comment on how you'd like it to be changed, or did you want me to comment?
I can comment. Do you think it would make more sense if we said like, oh boy, a high probability instructional sequence begins by presenting a series of 5 tasks that have a history of being completed at least twice? I don't know if that makes it more cohesive or not.
I think that makes the most sense. I also, using the principles of yeah, I think that sounds better.
Okay.
Crystal, go ahead.
I was gonna say for that sentence, to like if you change it to like the numerical number, it would look better and make more sense. Like if you just put like a series of numerical 2, TO numerical 5, like 2 to 5 tasks. Like it, because like right now with it like being the worded series of it, like it looks funky, but when you change it to the numerical number, I think it'll look better. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I don't, are they saying 2 through 5 tasks?
Yes.
They are saying that? Then yeah, I think that would work. I guess that was like the point, is like I didn't know if that is what they meant. But I agree, I think that works if we do that. Okay, and then did someone else have their hand raised or no?
Yeah, I was just kind of gonna piggyback off of what Crystal said. I think they're saying 2 to 5 tasks.
Okay, so. Then yeah, I think putting the numerical is really the only thing that makes sense there. Okay, do we all feel good about that part? Yeah, okay. Scroll. Also, sorry, I know it's dinging every time I open this document. All right, so we feel good about that paragraph. Are we okay if I start now on the internal validity section? Yeah, okay. All right, so when examining the research related to HPIS, it is critical that we first start with examining internal validity. Internal validity refers to the extent that the intervention was the direct cause of any behavior change when examining a research study. So I think this needs a citation. And I also don't think, it's just not, I don't know if like this vague research study makes the most sense, but at minimum, I think we need a citation. Does anyone else have something to add so far? No, okay. Internal validity can be ensured by using operational definitions that are clear and concise. This in turn allows for more accurate applicability and increases fidelity. Okay, who has their hand raised? Allie, go ahead.
I feel like the following sentences also need a citation as well.
Yeah, I think so too. Can be ensured by using. I also don't think talking about internal validity can be ensured by using operational definitions that are clear and concise.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I just feel like there is not really a point in that sentence, but do you guys all agree as well? Or leave it? Go ahead, Mira.
Yeah, I feel like that could be like a supporting sentence to something else, but internal validity can be ensured by using operational definitions. That's like not necessarily a fact, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Okay. And then Crystal, are we still good so far? I'm going off the PowerPoint. Or are they still following? Okay, cool. Just wanted to check in on that. All right, are we ready to keep going?
I have something to add quick too about that sentence about the operational definition. I feel like if it is relevant to internal validity, they should like elaborate more, like add another sentence that elaborates like how or why. Because by itself, I don't think it really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, even given an example, maybe. Oh, Crystal, go ahead.
When referring to the PowerPoint, for internal validity, they had to first start off with defining it and then listing and describing the threats to it. So I think that first part is probably them defining it, and then that second sentence is probably just like letting us know like how internal validity is effective or how it's like proven to be ensured, which is by using operational definitions that are clear and concise. Because when tracking the behaviors, you know, like in order to determine the internal validity, like the other person doing the research has to be able to know what your operational definitions are. So I think it pairs in with the definition. They just probably have to reword it better, maybe, so it flows.
Yeah, that's good to know. I wonder if for the next part, would it be okay if you read off the, like into the next section what we need going off the PowerPoint first?
Yes. So
I think that would help me at
for
least.
internal validity, they need to define internal validity and then in addition list and describe the threats to internal validity for the single case research that they're reviewing. And then for at least 4 threats to internal validity, write one paragraph that describes how confident you are that the intervention actually produced behavior change reported across the studies.
All right, let's get into the next part then. Choosing an experimental design that directly shows a relationship between the intervention and the results, including multiple baseline, single subject, and reversal designs, is another way to increase internal validity. Further, it allows one to more easily and reliably rule out any other factors or alternate ideas that for the changes. Okay, I think this bit makes sense, explaining what it does. I guess I'm not sure how much the design type makes sense here. Adding it in, I don't think it necessarily hurts, but I don't think they need it there, since it's talking about multiple experimental designs and we're not really talking about that here. But what do you guys think? Go ahead, Allie. Allie, go ahead.
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. So I can comment. Well, I guess it's just them just discussing what it can do, which I guess is one of the things the PowerPoint talks about. So should we leave it? What do you guys think? Go ahead.
I feel like that part doesn't hurt anything.
Okay.
It's just kind of like an extra detail. So
Yeah, I feel like it's them probably just ticking the box, which
yeah, so
we have to do. So, all right. I'm gonna keep going. Also, it's kind of hard to read off of it and comment. Can someone else do the commenting? Let me get to it. Is that okay? Okay. All right, so the next part is these parameters set the basis of the articles being reviewed. Okay, I guess that was the end of that. There are 8 common threats that can be present when analyzing the internal validity of a research study: history, iteration, testing, instrumentation, procedural infidelity, multiple treatment, interference, data instability, and adaptation. I think that all sounds good because it sounds like what, Crystal, you read off the PowerPoint. Go ahead, Mira.
I think just formatting, like, should that be an indent right there? Are these separate paragraphs? Where
They
it
are
says
separate.
there. Okay. Is it supposed to be indented or no?
Mm-hmm.
I think it can be. Who is raising their hand? Allie, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna mention at the end of our feedback kind of overall format of the paper, and indentation was one of them.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, then we can
I'll
do
skip
that.
it for them and I'll make a comment either at the top or the bottom, just like in general.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna keep reading them. Okay, we talked about the 8 common threats. It's important to understand these threats as if they are present in the literature, it could have a profound effect on the accuracy and conclusions of the effectiveness of HPIS. Do we feel good about that? Okay. Gonna move on to the next paragraph. History refers to the events that occur during an experiment that are not related to planned changes which might influence the outcome of the study. Iteration refers to changes. Who has their hand raised? Crystal, go ahead.
I was gonna say for this whole paragraph, like the style of it, like for them to kind of like change the wording, because every threat that they mention, it's always refers to, like it's like sounding like repetitive a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That sounds good. It looks like someone's changing that. And then, Danielle, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
I was gonna say too, kind of with the first two sentences, I think there should be some type of citation after the sentence about maturation. That way we have like a reference of where they're getting that definition or explanation from.
Right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I missed that completely. Awesome. Okay. Okay. And then I know this is earlier. I was gonna say too, just before I forget, I feel like this whole beginning, the introduction, they're only using one source. I think that main textbook. And I'm thinking we should probably have at least one more. But I can add that in at the end if you guys are comfortable with that. Okay, so we got through that. Got through maturation, changes. Okay. This is especially noticeable when the study is run across several months or even years. Testing refers to the effects that can occur when a participant is exposed to the same test repeatedly, thus potentially influencing the results as the test continues. And then I'd say again, we need a citation there. And Crystal, I agree with you about the refers thing. Maybe we just put it on one and they can fix the rest. Does that sound good, Crystal?
Yeah.
No? Okay. All right, so citation. Awesome, thank you. Okay, instrumentation refers to any concerns with the specific measurement system of the study, especially if the measurement system involves human observation. And then Crystal, I wanted to ask, I know they're supposed to state these. Are they supposed to give an example or no? Or it doesn't matter?
I was actually going to make another comment about that and ask if you can scroll up for a moment, like before they begin listing the threats to internal validity. Like in the PowerPoint, it says to list and describe the threats to internal validity for the single case research that they're reviewing. So are they listing like the 8 common ones that can be present as a whole, or just like the ones that relate to what they're reviewing?
Danielle, go ahead if it's about this.
Yeah, something that I thought about when kind of reading about the different threats was I was wondering if they were supposed to like clarify whether the like research articles we found had those threats within it. I feel like that would be a little more relevant as to why they're writing about it if those research threat or those threats were like relevant to the articles we found.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. Crystal, was that noted in the PowerPoint?
Yes,
by chance?
that's why I wanted to double check if did they mention that these related to the single research, or are they just listing all the common threats within internal validity?
At least to start, I think they're just listing, but let's go back. Is this the area where it starts?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Using 8 common threats. All right, it's right here. It looks like, is this one of our articles? Go ahead, Crystal.
The PowerPoint also mentioned a hint that the Ledford and Gass book from 630 can help, so that's probably why they referenced that.
Okay. Allie, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
That's what I was gonna say. It wasn't one of our articles, but it's just
Okay.
the book they need to reference.
Okay, but going off what you were saying, Crystal, I think it is them just 8 common threats and not necessarily finding it from our literature, but maybe it's further down. Danielle, go ahead.
I was gonna say too, if it I think it's okay to list the 8 common threats, and then they should have like a clarification sentence after and be like, out of the research articles reviewed, these are the threats that were found, and then explain those threats, I think would make more sense.
I agree. Let me scroll down to just make sure they didn't do that before we add that in, but I agree. I think that is really the only thing that makes sense. Allie, go ahead.
I was gonna say, in the last paragraph of their section of internal validity, they do mention, they reference the annotated bibliographies that have strengths and weaknesses in them. So
in their last, okay.
Yeah.
See. Oh, I see. Okay, I see. I think going off what you three said, this is probably what the meat of this section should be, and it shouldn't necessarily just be the concluding paragraph, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does everyone agree on that, or? Yeah, okay. Okay, can someone just make a note of that somewhere? I'll read through it anyway, just so we can see what can be saved from it. Okay, so let's see. We talked about testing. Instrumentation refers to any concerns with the specific measurement system of the study, especially if the measurement involves human observation. Who has their hand raised? Okay. Okay, procedural, where are we? Human observation. Procedural infidelity refers to study protocols not being followed correctly, which could lead to inaccurate data. Multiple treatment interference refers to a participant's behavior being impacted by having one. Okay, so what I am thinking before I continue is, like one of you said, listing what the threats are, I think is fine. However, I think diving in further should really only happen if it is in tune with our articles. Right?
I agree.
Okay, so they might need to cut a lot of this. I'm thinking. Is that what you guys think? Go ahead, Allie. Okay. I think you froze. Okay, Allie, you had your hand raised. What were you gonna say?
Sorry, my internet is being wonky. I was gonna say that we could make a comment on like the last paragraph, just saying to tie in the threats to internal validity more so to the annotated bibs.
Yeah, because I think a lot of their information is good and could probably tie right into them. That maybe it was just, maybe they just thought they had to write about each thing even outside the articles. Okay, I guess let's move on since that covers that. Okay, here I'm gonna read here. Antecedent interventions are an important part of a BCBA's repertoire because they play a significant role in influencing desired behaviors from individuals so that problematic behaviors are less likely to occur. There are different types of antecedent interventions and research evidence available along with them as well. It's imperative that professionals such as BCBAs take the time to find evidence-based interventions and determine if they include treatment acceptability, appropriateness, and treatment effectiveness so that the intervention may be implemented on individuals. The antecedent intervention in focus here is the high probability instructional sequence. Huh. Okay. Crystal, can you, oh, go ahead.
I have like a question. Can you
You're
scroll back?
muted.
Oh, I was
do that all the
saying,
time.
can you like scroll back up a little bit to where they start talking about internal validity?
Like the top
Yeah.
of it. There you go.
I'm kind of thinking they don't need all of that in a sense. Because, like, when I look at the PowerPoint, it's like they have to define internal validity, which they did, and then list and describe the threats to internal validity for the single case research that we're reviewing. So, after they defined it, they didn't really need to go into the 8 common threats, like that whole. If you understand what I'm saying, like, I don't think they need that at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I guess then my question is, do they, like, if they take away the 8 things, like, they don't have to write about them, is the goal for them to be writing about those things, though, within our articles, or that just shouldn't be in there?
Because if you scroll down, like, a little bit, like, when they start talking about the ones related to ours, some more.
I don't think it's till their last paragraph. Well, I don't even think they.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, go scroll back up a little bit.
More or here?
Yeah. So I'm thinking that they really don't need the whole, like, describing all 8 of them, but they just need to find the ones that refer to our art, like, list and describe the ones that refer to our, like, the single case research that they're reviewing. Because I think they did, like, a little extra work with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is what makes the most sense. And they can hopefully use, like, if any, whatever ones that do tie into our research, hopefully they can reuse a little bit of that work. But I agree. I think all of that should probably come out since it's not asking about defining those.
Because they then go into talking about at least 4 of the threats, which is what they're supposed to do, and those relate to the article. So I'm thinking that from those, like, say that these are what, are related to our article, like, from the ones that they listed down there, like, make a paragraph with that instead of all 8 of them, if that makes sense.
I think that makes sense. Yeah, it does. Can one of you comment on that when you have a sec? Go ahead.
Yeah, if you go up to, or just the title, internal validity, I made a comment. Do you want to see if that makes sense?
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay, you may have done extra work. Instead, look at how these tie into our research for the threats rather than defining them. Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. I guess, Crystal, do you think that's enough explanation for them based on what you were trying to get across?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. All right, do we feel confident on the internal validity section? Can I go to the next section? Yeah, okay. All right, testing. Crystal, can you read the PowerPoint bit that we need to make sure is in here?
So they need to, for at least 4 of the threats, write 1 paragraph that describes how confident you are that the intervention actually produced behavior change reported across the studies.
All right, so testing. When testing a high probability instructional sequence, it's important to ensure that the requests are truly high probability. They should be tasks that the learner can complete almost 100% of the time. To implement high P request sequence strategy, one must request behaviors that a student is likely to respond to and provide reinforcement for appropriate responding. 3 to 5 high P requests are quickly given, followed in short successions with praise. When the learner complies with 7 high P instructions in sequence, the practitioner immediately provides the target instruction. Who has their hand up? Danielle, go ahead.
The second sentence, when it says the learner can complete it almost 100%, I'm just kind of wondering why they said 100% when kind of that golden percentage we look for in the field is 80% to meet the criteria.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if they want to keep 100%, I think they need to like elaborate like what happens if 100% is not met.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the safest bet too might just be taking out a percentage and putting something like they should be tasked the learner. I mean, I guess we could put that 80%, but is, I don't know how to word it, known to complete. Crystal or Allie, I don't know who had their hand up first. I was on the page. Or Danielle, sorry, you were still going.
Oh, I was gonna say too, I think they could rephrase it by saying like by meeting the criterion. I think that would kind of avoid the percentage piece of it if they just said like meets criteria aspect of, for like, I don't know, 80% or so. That's kind of that golden standard we use.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense as well. Let's see. And then Allie, go ahead.
I was gonna jump in on the verbiage of that. You could always say like skills in their repertoire, mastered, criteria, something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then Crystal, go ahead. What do you want to say?
I was gonna say that I don't think they were talking about like criteria, like as in like the goals, but more so like when reading the sentence, it says that when stating a high probability instructional sequence, it is important to ensure that the requests are truly high probability. So meaning that the tasks, they should be tasks that the learner can complete almost 100% of the time. Like for example, like if you ask me to clap my hands, you know that I'm going to almost clap my hands 100% of the time. Like that's a task that you know that I can complete almost 100% of the time. So I think that's what they meant, like the tasks.
Yeah, I think both make sense. I don't think a citation would hurt because I think right there we could talk about, I mean, every article we read about, talked about this. So just adding one in there, I don't think would hurt to clear it up. Go ahead, Crystal.
I was gonna say, the way they worded it here in testing, where it says 3 to 5 from above, how it was like 2-5. I think all it is that they just need to take the dash out and just write the letter TO instead of like even changing the numerical value, because 3 to 5 like spelled out looks better than the 2-5, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
because this
I also
sentence
think
makes
like
sense.
random, but I think in grammar it's like numbers up to 10 you do write out, and then numbers above 10. Yeah, so I think that makes better sense anyway. All right. Oh, okay. Free group calls. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Allie, I think you were first. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna let everyone know that I got a 15 minutes left notification.
Okay. Danielle, go ahead.
I also think that last sentence with the hyperlink looks a little funny. I think it would look like a lot better if it had just a citation.
I agree. I thought that too when I was reading it. I wonder if that was an accident, actually, that they meant to go back and do that. Crystal, go ahead.
I was gonna say that since we do have 15 minutes left on the call, I don't know if to like try to make it like run a little smoother, like you can scroll down to each section, we like read it ourselves and then do a thumbs up when we're done reading and ready to like add a comment.
Yeah, that sounds good. Are we ready then for the next section? Yeah, okay. Okay, that's kind of slow. Okay, let me know when you're done and if you want to comment. Okay. Go ahead, Crystal.
I actually think this paragraph is good. They did what they needed to do with like describing it towards our single research, like adaptation and stuff, like whether it was relevant. I just think the citation needs to be edited, or yeah, The citation looks funny. I think something needs to be done with the citation.
I agree. Danielle, go ahead.
I think they just forgot to put the years in parentheses. I think that's the issue with the citations, is the years and in parentheses.
Okay. Easy fix then. And I think pulling it from our articles directly made the most sense. So, okay, I gotta scroll down for us to all read external validity. Crystal, go ahead.
So I was gonna say for external validity, they basically have to do the same thing that they did for the internal.
Okay, cool. Thank you for clarifying. Go ahead, Danielle.
Should they be using first-person language when it says we will examine each threat to external validity in detail? Because I think they could rephrase that so it's like more targeted towards the audience, like you could just say like each threat of external validity will be reviewed in the
or next
subsequent paragraphs.
Or just changing the we to to, I feel like would fix it. Right. Next, it's imperative to review. I don't know. Crystal, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna add on to that, like for them to reword that, like taking out the we will examine each threat and just saying that like threats to remember to examine are as follows or something like that.
Yeah, I think they were just trying to have a transitional sentence, but I agree. I think that would make more sense. Okay. Crystal, is there anything in their PowerPoint? Because if not, I'm not gonna be like nitpicky about it. That says they need a minimum amount of like outside sources, or is it just like? Because if there's no minimum, I mean.
I'm not sure, but I'm going to look through to find it.
Okay. Because I don't want to be picky about that if it's not even a thing. Okay, selection bias. I would just say in this section, again, just missing citations. I feel like it's just kind of pulling facts from something, but not giving credit. But does anyone else have anything to add? Otherwise, I'm gonna scroll since we're low on time. Okay. So I guess my question here is, are they in each of these paragraphs, because like that other one, they related it right to our article. Should they be doing that in each of these paragraphs? Because if so, I think it has to be edited a bit. Go ahead, Crystal. I think you had your hand up first.
Yes, they should be doing that in each of the paragraphs, I believe, because it says, wait, where'd it go? Yeah, so for each threat to external validity, write one paragraph that describes how confident you are that the results reported in the literature will apply to your client's agency situation. And then also, to answer your other question, so under the frequently asked questions part of the PowerPoint, it says that that they don't necessarily need to use APA format, and that it should be single space but not double space between paragraphs. They don't have to indent each paragraph. However, they should use APA style to insert in-text citations, and the references should be in APA style. But it just says that it needs to be 3 to 4 pages plus references. It doesn't say how many references.
Okay, cool. Then I'm not gonna pick at him about it. All right. Does anyone have anything to say about that, or can I scroll? Okay. All right. Sampling bias. Yeah, and this one I feel like they could have related to our articles, since a lot of us had like elementary school children, so they could probably write about that there, because that could be sampling bias, which I can highlight, or someone, yeah, whoever else wants to. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna scroll again since we're running low on time. Go ahead, Crystal.
For the social validity part, they are supposed to describe the extent to which the researchers assess the social meaningfulness of outcomes and what does this evidence mean. And then, and then the paragraph after is when you identify problems due to the lack of social validity evidence, explain how you might collect this evidence in your agency.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I feel like they defined it well. I think the biggest issue is they're just having trouble tying it back into our work. That's the pattern I'm seeing. Go ahead, Crystal.
Next, I was gonna say they defined it, but for this part they didn't have to define it. Or actually, let me go back. I lied. I missed the second PowerPoint, so they did have to define it. Never mind.
Okay. But do you guys kind of think that as well, that it's like the work is fine and from the literature, but it's not necessarily tying back into
Yes.
what we had?
Yeah.
Okay. And I do feel like a lot of them are simple fixes. Like there's, because we had examples of the sampling bias and Hawthorne effect, because it's like teachers, and a couple other things that I think would be very simple changes. Okay, did you want me to, are we ready for a conclusion? Look at it. Yeah. Go ahead, Danielle.
Something that I noticed when I first reviewed the article is it seems like it flips between the high probability instructional sequence and the HPI and the abbreviation quite a bit. I think it can just be abbreviated after they like write out the full phrase one time. And then my other thought too was I think they might need a reference page, because that was the feedback she gave us during our antecedent intervention.
Yeah, and I think Crystal said that was in the PowerPoint as well. That's good points. Go ahead, Crystal, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say that for the conclusion, they are supposed to explain why you would still use this intervention despite relative weaknesses in interval, external, and social validity. And I'm not sure if they did that.
Yeah, I don't think they did either. I think it's more so just a summary of what they wrote about, but not necessarily an argument.
Yes, and it also says to share any thoughts you have as a supervisor that will help you either train your DCS or decide that this intervention may be a good fit for a specific client.
Okay, so yeah, they need that as well. But we did get through all of it. Besides that summary page, does anyone before the call ends have last minute remarks? No? Okay.
So I'm
Okay.
gonna stop
I guess
the
Crystal, if you
recording.
want to